you're supposed to be trying to teach your child to get to know themselves, not you.
Not you.
When you in all this trauma and stuff that we talking about, you're parenting for that little person to understand and get to know you and know how to maneuver in your house.
Right.
So that they can accommodate and, you know, settle your emotions and upsets and things like that.
Deep.
But it's supposed to be the opposite. By the time you deliver them to the world, they're supposed to have a sound sense of, in that moment, I have certain foundational understandings of myself.
Right.
I'm not at my best or in my prime even.
Right.
But I understand certain things about my ways, how I think, what I should be working, my basics.
Yeah.
Right? Myself is the priority right now.
I have a healthy outlook for self.
Yes. When you deliver them into the world, they should have that. We getting delivered with understanding what our mama do and don't want, what she think about our dad. We know a lot about the people that raised us.
Everything outside of ourselves.
Yes, and very little about us. And then what happens is when we get in these relationships, that's when we start to find out about us.
Because it doesn't align with who we're with.
Yes. Or you get in it and you start to see, why can't I just get better? Why can't I just attract better than this nigga or this girl? And then they start to point out stuff about you as you point out stuff about them.
Yeah.
And you're realizing more and more, I don't know me. Your insecurities start to show.
Yeah.
This is when then all you want to do is have another little person.
Yeah.
So that you can just get back into what was comfortable, which is what your mama did to you. And I say this.
Recreate that thing.
I've said this before. I say this often. I'll say it again. A lot of us as women, we're hiding behind our children. I'm a single mama. That's the way to get you to back off from the stuff I need to go take care of about myself. Girl, I got kids.
I ain't got time for that.
I ain't got time. I have a mentorship program, and you know, a lot of the women in there, when you first get in my mentorship program and you pay and you're in it, we have our initial intro conversation, and I work with you on naming your purpose. And it's so hard for women that have children to name their purpose without mentioning their children or some other being.
Yeah.
You have to have a existence reason for yourself. You were you before you were their mom.
Right.
So I'm sitting here and it takes sometimes an hour to just get them to define what they want to be to themselves.
Yeah.
We're not getting rid of your children, but you are an individual outside of them. Stop attaching yourself to them, because what I know in our community is when you attach yourself to the child where there is no separation, you raise them based on that. And so now you're treating them like they're just an extension of you, which is poor parenting. That person is their own individual that is supposed to be getting to know them, not just some extension of you.
Navigate in this
in my aspect where I can see that, what she was speaking about, you start to learn yourself in relationships, you know, because so much is about what your parents went through. You know, in my situation, I had two parents, they separated, got back together, that type of situation. So within that, you know, a lot of stuff happened, and I'm getting older, learning about all of this stuff and having resentment, you know, toward my dad, the stuff he did, but then getting older and understanding his point, you know, understanding their perspectives, but all while not really knowing myself. You know, I know, like she said, you know so much about their business that you're kind of left empty. You don't figure your stuff out. You don't know who you truly are, and you find it out in relationships. And a lot of those relationships crash and burn because you start to identify and see stuff that you hated in yourself. So you have to start to at least attempt to unlearn a lot of those habits that you've been viewing, that you viewed as normal. You know, so I definitely believe that she's correct in that aspect.
All right. Mila, what are your thoughts about stop behind your children?
I agree with that. I'm not a parent myself, but I can definitely say, as far as like when you're growing up and you're, you know, dealing with your parents' relationships and their shit and what you take on all of them and all of the family dynamics that you kind of forget, or you don't really know who you are, because I can speak from my experience only that sometimes my parents, they didn't like talk about who I was, or like, you know, like it was always, you are an extension of me. I want you to be like me, but better. And it was never originally any space to be your own person until like I decided to make that decision to be like, okay, I'm my own person. So yeah, I got to kind of respect that. And so I think that sometimes, especially when parents kind of don't have a purpose or identity before being parents, and I can speak for my parents, like being a parent was all. So then when my siblings and I grew up and we were grown, they didn't know how to go live life. Like they were always a parent. Like that was their identity. Like I am a mother, I am a father. So I think I would just, you know, agree. And I think that it is important for people to realize like we're all individuals. We all have like different titles, mothers, brothers, aunties, or whatever. But outside of those roles, we still have to understand who we are, what we want to portray in the world, and like find our purpose outside of like serving family. Because naturally, that's all what we're gonna do. But you're more than just that. So that would just be my piece on that.
All right. I'm gonna go to you, Sweeney. What are your thoughts about it? Stop hiding behind your children.
I don't know. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm having a lot of trouble with this one because she said so much. Like she said a lot of stuff that it was conflating a bunch of different things. So I'm trying to like unpack each and everything that she said. But I think it's a solution to a problem that we created. People are far more simple than we are far more simple than we try to give ourselves credit for. Um, shit.
I just kind of, yeah, I was gonna say, just kind of think on a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and go to Viz. What are your thoughts about it, sir? And I'll come right back to you, Sweeney.
All right.
I missed the beginning of it, but from what I did capture, I would say I agree with it to an extent. Now, one thing that I would say, and this might be off topic, but she was aggressive as hell explaining her point. That definitely, you know what I'm saying, stood out for sure. The second part is the part I think I'm conflicted by it with Sweeney is that your children are an extension of you. You know, that's your lineage. So if you're not instilling whatever it is that's in you into them to make them a better person, then it's kind of like, I mean, that's what parenting is. I think that each man and woman, boy and girl, should grow up and find their own path. Nobody can lead an individual on their path, but with me missing the beginning of it, it's kind of hard for me to really gauge, you know, what she was saying or the intention behind it.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Luis, and after Luis, I'll go ahead and run it back. Just, I know she did say a lot. Go ahead, Luis.
Hey, yeah, there was a lot that was said. I did take a lot of notes. You know, outside of her speaking about women or parents being, you know, mothers or having children, career, right? Community leader. I think we wear multiple hats. You know what I'm saying? You can run a business, you could be a mother, you could, you know, take on all these different identities. But at the end of the day, there's something that's greater outside of you. The thing that I start to kind of wonder is that, you know, are people being too much of a helicopter parent? Are they over smothering their kids? You know, either trauma dumping, you know, telling them sort of all of their characteristics and the things that they went through, as opposed to kind of investing time in trying to understand who their child is and who does their child want to be. I know at one point on King Talk, we talked about, that fathers give their children or their young sons, their identity or help them guide through that, right? And sort of, I wonder if that's also an opportunity to kind of insert here. In the development of a false identity, right? Because if you take on too much of your parents' characteristics, like how do you handle certain things that are different from how they handle it, right? Your parents might be, a little bit more passive aggressive versus how you might approach things, and sort of developing too much of an identity under them kind of like it removes the opportunity for you to, develop into your own self. And I agree with the comment that Sweeney had made. Like we overly complicate things because the world is starting to become complicated, in terms of like everything that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, but we ourselves are inherently are very simple people. You know what I'm saying? In terms of how we communicate with each other, how we spend time in community, the things that we share, the value systems, we're all very similar. But unfortunately, we throw a lot of nuances into the pot to try to complicate things to make it seem like we're something else other than, the community or value systems that we share. How are you?